Well, are you curious about how other people in Wisconsin are voting on Election Day?
Well, a new company plans to show you minute by minute what's going on in America's key battleground states.
But as Courtney Garrish discovered, some political experts are advising caution. Courtney.
Carolyn George, it's a new strategy for November 8th. The company plans to show people in real time how the presidential candidates are doing at the polls in Wisconsin and 6 other states. Information only political campaigns and journalists have had access to until now.
NBC News is projecting this race at this point as too close to call.
These days, most news organizations take the cautious approach on Election Day. They don't project a winner.
It is 7:30 on the East Coast, and polls are closing in West Virginia, in North Carolina, and in Ohio.
Until polls in that state have closed. But what if you could track how the candidates are doing in real time all day long?
This is something that we've been working on for the better part of a year now.
Andrew Dreschler is president of Haystack in Washington, D.C. His company has been making Election Day projections for political campaigns for more than a decade. Now Dreschler and a bipartisan team of election veterans want to share that kind of information with all of us.
To be able to say, here's how this state is voting, and here's the projected outcome at the end of the day.
The group formed a company called Votecaster. It's training hundreds of volunteers who will be on the ground in 7 battleground states, including Wisconsin. On Election Day, those volunteers will be at polling places, keeping track of how many people voted. Votecaster will then combine that turnout information from hundreds of districts across the state and calculate how the candidates are doing. Those numbers will shift throughout the day as turnout changes. One thing Votecaster won't do is declare an actual winner.
We feel good about our models, but we would never say 100%.
Dreschler believes there's a demand for this from the public, and the voters we talked to say they're interested.
I think that would be cool. Yeah.
You want to see that?
Yeah.
But will this play-by-play on Election Day affect the vote? So what happens if you're seeing numbers that reflect a clear winner and you haven't voted yet? Would you still go to the polls?
I would. For me, I think it's important to always voice my opinion.
Would you still go to the polls?
Yeah, every vote counts.
But Charles Franklin of the Marquette Law School poll is wary about sharing this kind of information.
If you make a mistake, what are the consequences?
Franklin says there's a reason networks keep data that projects who's winning or losing under wraps until the polls close.
You introduce a new element to elections which is not valuable to the public if it turns out to be misleading.
But the creators of Votecaster say there are checks and balances in place.
Being able to see when data that's coming in is bad data, and that's something that we have a lot of experience in.
Votecaster hopes letting people see the game as it unfolds will better connect voters to the process and be the norm in future elections. And Votecaster will be interviewing 10,000 voters in each battleground state before Election Day. That survey, along with turnout numbers and early and absentee votes, will all be used in its projections. Just to clarify, Votecaster will not know who people vote for.
Okay, what about costs? Who's paying for all of this, Courtney?
That's always the question, isn't it? It's mostly private money, and this is an expensive project. Estimated cost is in the millions, but the idea here is all this information Votecaster collects will help in future elections. Votecaster is following the race for president and Senate races in those battleground states. TMJ4.com for links on where you can follow the projections on Election Day.
It could ultimately change the whole landscape of what
it is going to be interesting to watch.
Process.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Courtney.